Hold on a second. Why am I doing this? Well, it's all because of this. Backpacking's miracle insulation. No other material, not even space-age technology from NASA, is as warm, light, and compressible as down. But down has one major flaw. When it gets wet, it loses all of its magical properties. It can't insulate, it gets really heavy, and it can even be deadly. And that one fatal flaw is why I spend so much time, effort, and worry trying to protect my down from getting wet. But what if you could get down a little wet or even really wet, and it would still keep you warm? Well, that's what DownTek claims their down can do, and I'm going to find out if it's true. So I was recently sent this jacket from Big Agnes, one of the many companies that uses DownTek and their sleeping bags and jackets. And I wanted to give it a real good test to see if it can do what DownTek claims it can do, to see if it can get wet and still keep me warm. And so I was in Colorado for a few days, and I decided what better time is there to test wet down. And so to test whether or not the down will still insulate when wet, I've been wearing the jacket dry now for about 30 minutes, and I can tell that I'm comfortably warm in the jacket at these temperatures. I'm going to go ahead and dunk the jacket in the water, get it completely soaking wet. I'm going to put the jacket back on and see if it can still insulate when wet. So the air temperature is just below freezing. The water temperature is right around 44 degrees. Normally, a wet down jacket in these temperatures would be a recipe for disaster. Now, to make sure that I don't get in big trouble, I've got the car running and close by so that if I need to get warm quickly, I can. Now, if this was regular down, I should be freezing in just a few minutes. But if DownTek does what it says it does, then I should be able to still stay decently warm. So let's see what happens. But before we do that, I want to take a look at what makes DownTek different from other down. Down insulates so well by creating loft, trapping thousands of tiny air pockets. Each one of those air pockets traps heat. More loft equals more air pockets, which traps more heat. But when down gets wet, all those tiny air pockets go away, and so does the heat. DownTek is one of several companies that have tried to fix this one major weakness by treating down with a durable water repellent finish. When DownTek gets wet, the DWR repels water, allowing the down to maintain its loft and theoretically still keep me warm. Now, I know that anytime you start talking about DWR, people start to get concerned about PFAS, which is destroying the outdoors. DownTek has two DWR formulas, one that uses PFAS and one that is Blue Sign approved to contain no PFAS. Big Agnes uses Blue Sign approved PFA-free DownTek, which is all fine and good, but can it keep me warm when it's wet? Okay, so I can feel some initial cold just from the water that's coming off of the jacket right now. Let's see what happens in a few minutes. Let that initial heat loss due to conduction, see if that wears off and see if I can still stay warm. I'm not doing a whole lot of physical activity, and so I should be pretty cold with the temperatures at freezing right now. So I've dunked the jacket in the water once. I'm still pretty warm, the sun's shining. Even though it's below freezing outside, the air temperature is below freezing, I'm still staying pretty warm. I'm going to dunk the jacket in the water again and see what happens. The jacket's feeling heavy with the water now. That's because I got a bunch of water in one of the pockets. Ooh. It's definitely cold to the touch. You can tell that my hand is wet right there. It looks like all the water has gone down here to the skirt of the jacket where I can wring it out. But even so, that down ought to be just soaking up that water. So I've been out here for a little while now, and I can feel a little bit of coolness on my arms, but the insulation is still lofting really well. Even on my arms, my mid jacket, like I can press it down and I can feel it loft right back up. And that's after dunking it twice in the water. I went ahead and checked the temperature just to see what the outdoor temperature was one more time. It's 29 degrees. I don't know if you can see that. So I should be pretty cold right now, but with the sun beating down on me, the jacket, I'm feeling pretty good. Okay, so what does all this mean? Well, after my experiment, I started to worry that the sun was keeping me warmer than I would have liked. When I started this experiment, clouds were covering the sun and nearly all my warmth came from the dry jacket. But right about the time that I started dunking the jacket in the water, the sun came out and started warming things up. Even though the ambient air temperature was still reading just above freezing, it was enough to make me question my results. I did go back after the sun went down, but couldn't repeat the control of a dry jacket because the jacket was still damp from dunking in the stream earlier that day. It's at this point that my wife threw a bucket of water in my face with no sun to keep me warm, that plus the remaining dampness from earlier, and it really did feel like this jacket was still working. And after thinking about it some, this may have been closer to a real-world scenario. You're hiking during the day and you drop your pack in a stream, soaking your down. It has some time to dry out a bit before nightfall, but it's still a little damp when you need it most. It seems, at least from my little experiment, that DownTek can still keep you warm. And despite all the variables I encountered, I think the one sure sign that DownTek works is that the jacket maintained its loft. If you've ever washed a traditional down jacket or sleeping bag, then you know that once your gear gets wet, it becomes as flat as a pancake. Loft means air pockets, and air pockets trap warmth, so despite all my variables, I'm impressed with DownTek's ability to maintain loft when wet. And I also really like this Big Agnes jacket. This is the shovel head jacket, and at first I didn't think I liked the vertical baffles, but after using this jacket for some extended periods of time, and after seeing how well it maintained its loft, I really like this jacket. It's a little warmer than what I would normally wear on most backpacking trips, but for cold weather, I really like this jacket. One last thing that I want to mention is even though Big Agnes sent me this jacket at no cost and DownTek provided the loose down for the illustration, I received no other compensation from Big Agnes or DownTek. And with that in mind, I want to reinforce that DownTek is not the only company that's treating down with DWR, and Big Agnes is not the only company using treated down in their products, but they're the only products that I've been able to test. So I'm curious, how cautious are you when it comes to keeping your down products dry? And does this make you worry less when your down does get wet? Leave me a comment and let me know. Or if I missed something or got something wrong, please leave me a comment. If there's one thing that I've learned from YouTube, it's that I can't think of everything and I certainly don't know everything. So leave me a comment adding to the conversation or check out what others have to say. Be sure to like and subscribe. That is the easiest way to support me and the videos that I'm putting out. Or check out my Take a Seat shirts at the link below this video. Follow me on Instagram at MyLifeOutdoors. And as always, thanks for watching. Got some snow in my glove. This could be one of the stupidest things I've ever done.